Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay. I'd like to welcome you to our today's webinar. The topic of the webinar is AI campaigns in Google Ads. My name is Peter Simha, and I'll be a host of today's webinar. The webinar will take approximately 60 minutes. It will be recorded, and you can access the recording from this exact URL. So if you just bookmark it, or we'll send you a notification later on, you just click on the link. It will take you back here. You can view the whole thing again at your own speed. Right. So that's it. Let's get in. So what are we going to talk about today? So first of all, I'd like to give you an overview of those AI-based campaigns. They're fairly new. Some of you might not have hands-on experience with them. So we'll speak a little about them, when can they be used, and also when they're not very suitable. So we'll discuss that, and then we'll talk about the key benefits of these AI campaigns. We'll give you some examples, and we'll also give you tips in terms of how to set them up, how to optimize them to maximize your success with them. And we'll not just give you a theory, but we'll also um, take a look into one of the accounts that we manage. We'll show you how to create campaigns like that. And we'll also show you what are the optimization opportunities out there. For those of you who do not know me already, I'm Peter Sima, and I'm a founder and consultant at FLX Digital. Besides that, I'm also a Google certified trainer for nonprofits. And a part of this role is educating nonprofits on Google Ad Grants, but also Google Analytics, commercial Google Ads, and other products related to nonprofit marketing, essentially. And I've been doing this since 2010, and specifically focusing on ad grants accounts since 2013. So it's been more than 10 years now. So that would just be a short intro. I think most of you, I looked at the list of participants, most of you are our clients. We work together, not with me, then you probably work with some of my colleagues. So we don't need to spend too much time here, and let's just dive straight into the first type of these AI-based campaigns, which is dynamic search ads. We have a few questions for you today. We want to make this a little bit more interactive. And the first question we have is this one. So how often do you struggle with finding the right keywords for your Google Ad Grants campaigns? But I know most of you have Google Ad Grants accounts. Some of you might have created campaigns yourself. So we want to know how difficult it is for you to actually find right keywords. And you can find that question in the right-hand side, the third icon from the top. It shows a little chart icon. If you click on that, that will show you the question, and you can pick the correct answer there. We have four answers there, so please click on one of them. We'll give you a few seconds, and we'll take a look at it, and we'll evaluate it. All right, we got the first three votes in, and it seems like all of them went for the second option, which is sometimes. We manage, but it's tough, right? So and that's actually a common feedback we get from our clients. And typically, when we inherit campaigns from somebody who's managed it in-house, we see that they use the most obvious keywords, but typically it's not enough for an ad grants campaign to work properly. You need to build up comprehensive keyword list. Sometimes you need to think outside of the box. You need to go after less competitive, yet largely searched keywords and things like that, which is not always easy. So your answer is pretty much in line with what we hear from our clients. Thank you for that. We'll have a few more questions. I'll let you know then. Here comes the overview. So dynamic search ads, what are they? They've been around for quite some time. We call them sometimes dynamic campaigns or DSA campaigns, right? And they're suitable for well-developed websites, right? We see them working well in ad grants accounts that belong to clients with extensive websites with a lot of content, ideally content optimized for different keywords. Well, why that is, that's because these DSA campaigns automatically pull keywords from your website. And it can be the whole website or it can be just a few pages that you select. But the key point here is that Google extracts keywords that they use to index your page, right? They extract them automatically and then they use them for targeting. So our first question about selecting the keywords, it's not really a topic here because in DSA campaign, you do not put in any keywords manually. Instead, you just define which pages should be crawled by Google, and Google extract those keywords automatically. We also use it for our clients. Most of our clients use this campaign type simply because it helps us fill the gaps, right? Next to these dynamic campaigns, we typically have manually created campaigns. We try to use as many relevant keywords as possible, but it's not really always possible to capture everything. We work with clients with very extensive websites with hundreds of thousands of keywords. The new ones are being added, and it's just not possible to capture all of that manually. So it is a sort of catch-all campaign that crawls it, that adds all these keywords even from those newly added content pieces. And what's also unique about it is that the headlines, so the ad headlines, those are the blue, larger, um, text pieces that typically appear prominently on the top of the ad. Those ones are generated automatically, right? So they're generated off of the content of the respective page. And that helps you maximize relevancy because the keywords that people search for, they're typically being used automatically in the headline. You don't have to worry about that. Again, if you have hundreds of pages, it might be difficult to use all the keywords in those headlines. But with this campaign type, you don't have to do that. All you need to do is that just create two description lines. You put them in, and then the headlines are being created automatically. So that's how it works in a nutshell. Here's a short infographic. So you can see here how it works. So in Google Ads, it will show you how to create them. But essentially, during the setup process, you need to put in your website. You specify whether you want it to crawl all pages or selected pages. Then Google does the crawling on its own, and it just uses the keywords for both targeting and for ad copy creation. So it's fairly simple to set up. Here comes the obvious question. Second question of today's webinar. Have you ever used dynamic search ads? I know, again, some of you are our clients. So those of you, we use it because we typically set it up for all our clients. But the question is if you've ever set it up yourself, if you use it when you manage your account yourself. Again, please go to the poll section and give us your answer. All right, so far we have two votes. One person said that they've never used them, but is interested in using them. Second person said that they use them. Right, I mean, that, excuse me, good thing here is that both people who gave us their votes said that they're interested in them, they either use them or they would like to use them. So that's good. Let's move on. When to use them, right? So the question is DSA campaign the right campaign format for me? Well, I've already mentioned it sort of in the beginning. You need to have a certain amount of information on your website. So if you have a one pager with very brief description of your programs, it is probably not the right format because it just won't have enough keywords in there, and the targeting will be limited. The campaign will never pick up. So it's more suitable for those larger websites with articles with keywords that are popular and that are being searched by people. And it can give you extra volume, right? It can give you extra volume. It should not be the only campaign active in the account, but it's a good addition to manually set up standard search campaigns. in sometimes we see that this campaign surpasses in terms of performance all of the other search campaigns. And actually, the account that I want to show you that's an example of that. So you can easily be the biggest campaign in the account, but you need to have a lot of content on your website. Now, what's not so good about it is the level of control. Right? So if you create a standard search campaign, you are the one in control of the keywords, both positive and negative. You can review the search terms. You can negative match keywords that are not relevant, etc. With DSA campaigns, you do not select the keywords. And sometimes we've seen situations when a client, for instance, a partner section, where they listed their partners, big brands, right? And Google pulled those keywords from that page and they use them for targeting, right? And they didn't want to, be present in Google search results when somebody searched for one of these brands, right? So then it's important to monitor the search queries. It's important to monitor which keywords you actually appear on. And if you see something that's not very relevant, you can then exclude it. So you can add exclusions, you can add so-called negative keywords, but you cannot use positive keywords. If you see that is happening constantly, then you need to reduce targeting, perhaps just um, use certain pages, not all of them, etc. So there are options, but they're limited. The control is definitely limited here, and that's something to keep in mind when using DSAs. Um, but what are the benefits? Well, obviously, there's broad coverage. Again, if you have a broad website, a lot of content pieces, that's not something you can cover manually. With DSA, you can. It's there's it's definitely quicker and easier to create it instead of manually creating keyword lists for all of those content pieces, manually creating ad copies. It's just easier and quicker to build. To some extent, it's also easier to manage because again, the options are limited, which also creates simplicity and people without too much experience can handle this fairly well. And it's typically quite relevant, right? Because the keywords are used for targeting. They're also used in ad copies automatically. People are directed to the landing page that is the most relevant one to the search. So all of this is taken care of. So if you have a nicely structured website, it can actually be quite relevant as well. But there are some cases when DSAs are not optimal. Um, and they're not optimal when you want to maintain high level of control. We have some clients that are mm, very, I'd say, cautious about where their ads appear, which keywords they appear on. Um, right? They want to make sure that they never appear on anything that's not relevant, and things like that. And it's not something you can do with DSA campaigns. Um, like I said, there is certain level of control, and yes, you can add negative keywords, or you can narrow down the targeting to certain pages. But definitely in some fields, like for instance healthcare, it's not optimal because you can go after all sorts of keywords, some of them not necessarily relevant to what you do. If you're regulated by some type of authority, or if you have a situation like what I described about listing different brands in your website, it may cause your ad to appear on keywords where you wouldn't want to be present, right? So these are situations where you need to be very cautious, and you might rather use standard search campaigns instead of DSA. Now the question is, and this is a little bit more technical, but for those of you who have Google AdWords experience, you might be able to answer this one. So if you have Google AdWords accounts, and obviously you start off with certain keywords, but if you want to, if you're not happy with the initial performance, you want to ramp it up, you want to expand it somehow, how do you do that, right? And again, we have four answers there in the poll section. So one of them is, are you manually researching new keywords, or do you use Google Keyword Planner, or do you use DSAs, or you don't even do any type of keyword expansion in your account? So again, I'll give you a few seconds, please vote, and then I'll tell you what we think about this. Just a one more there. I don't know if other people aren't listening or they don't want to share their information, but please, more if you can give us your votes. It's We'd like to know um, how you manage your background account in your organization. All right, so we have two votes there. One person said that they don't expand keyword lists, which in Google AdGrants accounts, it's very important to expand keyword lists. Reason being, um, for Google AdGrants campaigns to ramp up, you need to use long keyword lists. You need to test many different keywords. Not all keywords work in AdGrants accounts. Keywords that do not have too much search traffic, or keywords that are very competitive, they will never work. And the only sure way to find out which keywords work well in AdGrants accounts is by testing them, right? And uh, and you can either use tools like Google Keyword Planner. That's what we typically do for our clients. These tools help you mine keywords at scale, and you can then put them in the account, and you can test them and see where you can actually get traffic. That's what we do. You can also manually research them, so you can take a look at pages related to those keywords. You can take keywords from there, or you can get some inspiration from our competition. So that's also a way. It just quite tedious, and it might not be able to cover all the keywords. Right? So our recommendation is to use Google Keyword Planner or a different type of keyword research tool. Mine those keywords at scale, put them in, test them, have conversion tracking in place, see what works, and then you can focus on those keywords. Another alternative to that would be using DSA, assuming you have an extensive website that can simplify this process for you. All right, now the setup, right? So uh, this is how you set up your new DSA campaign. In a few minutes, I'll actually show you how it works in the account. But generally speaking, you log into your Google Ads account. There's a plus sign. You click it, and you create new campaign. And DSA campaign, in a sense, is a standard search campaign, right? So in terms of setup, there's not much different. So you select search campaign, you set the bids, you name it, you set your location, languages, and everything is just like it would be in any other search campaign. But the difference is that when Google asks you, do you want to create a new ad group, what are the keywords that you would like to use, um, this is the part that you either should skip, right? Because again, there will be no keywords, and you are not creating standard ad group. Sometimes Google shows different setup, campaign setup experiences. I've seen cases where it wasn't possible to skip it. So then you just need to create a standard ad group. And then after you complete the setup and you publish the campaign, they need to go in that campaign. You need to either remove the ad group that Google made you create, or if you were able to skip it, then the campaign is blank, and then you just create a new ad group. And when you create this new ad group in this new campaign, that's when you can select. That's point number 9. That's when you can select an ad group type, either standard or dynamic, right? So at that point, you need to select this dynamic ad group type. And that basically means that this ad group will be a DSA ad group, will be dynamic ad group, meaning Google will not ask you to put any keywords. Google will ask you to put in targets, website targets, and that you can either select all pages, which means Google will extract keywords from all pages within your domain, or you can select specific pages as a target, right? I'll show you exactly what it means. Long story short, it's a standard search campaign. The only difference is when you create the ad group, you need to select dynamic ad group, and then you need to select this so-called uh, target, which is essentially a list of pages which should be used for campaigns, and from where Google should extract the keywords. Obviously, the difference also in the ad copy, because in these dynamic groups, You can create standard ads. You can create only these dynamic ads, which means that Google will not ask you to put in headlines, that the headlines are created automatically. Google will only ask you to put in description lines. So that's how we set it up. Like I said, in a few seconds, I'll show you in one of the accounts. And then when you create the DSA campaign, when you optimize it, our recommendation is to check search term reports. And again, I'll show you how to do that. And in that search term report, you'll see the exact phrases that were used to serve your ads. And from there, you can also add negative keywords, right? And I've already mentioned that DSA campaigns do not work very well for websites where the content changes very frequently or where the content isn't substantial. So that's just a repetition. Um, and yeah, this is just the optimization part. So in the search term report, as I mentioned, you can see which keywords were actually uh, used, and then you can also see the different types of ads. And you can see the stats also on the ad level. And then when you look at the search term report, and it might happen that you see keywords that are not relevant, and you can just click on them. You can negative match them, which will prevent it from appearing on these keywords in the future. That you should do that, for instance, with brands that are not related or keywords that simply aren't the keywords you would like to go after. And you can also do that with pages. If you see that Google drags a lot of, or I mean, you can see that Google, for instance, drags a lot of traffic to certain pages that are not the key pages. You can then also say to Google, we don't want to use this page for crawling. Please get rid of that. Only use these pages. You can also. And actually, I'll first show you an account, show you how it works, then I'll give you our final fix on DSA campaigns. So to do that, I go into Google Ads. So this is the Google Ads account. Is our all agency account. I hope you can see it well. A little bit bigger like this. And when you go in here, when you go to campaigns, you have this big little plus icon. If you click on that, you can hit this new campaign. And this is the setup. This is how you create any new campaign with Google Ads. The very first screen is this one where Google asks you what's the objective of this campaign. So if you have a specific objective, like for instance, generating leads or sales, sometimes you can pick these. My recommendation is to always go with the last option, because that's the option that gives you the most options, right? So if you now select some of these ones, it may limit the some of the options later on in the process. So my suggestion is to start always with this one. And then Google gives you different options, right? So select the campaign type. And as I mentioned before, DSA is, in a sense, a standard search campaign. You need to click on this one, search. Then Google shows you, and this is an existing account with existing conversion actions. So Google detected that there are conversion actions here. You can review them, or you can change them if you want. But basically, here you define what are the goals that Google should optimize campaign towards. I'll leave it like this because they're accurate, and I'll hit continue. Now the next step is what kind of results you want to get from this campaign. And this is a campaign that is supposed to drive traffic to our website. So I'll hit this one, and then Google asks, what's your website? And since this is our agency account, I'll just put in our agency website here, and I'll hit continue. Now Google wants me to put in a name. So let's name it Test DSA campaign. The name is obviously up to you, and it should be something descriptive. We typically put in the campaign type in there, like DSA or PMax, but it's up to you. It can be anything. And now when you hit continue, this is the whole campaign setup experience here. So it starts with bidding. Our suggestion in advanced account is to always use conversion-based bidding. You can set the target And if you set the target, our suggestion is to start with a large target that helps the campaign to pick up quickly. It helps the ads to be served in better positions. My recommendation is to start with something like 5,000. The maximum is 10,000. You can always decrease it, right? But start with higher budgets and bids, and will help the campaign perform better initially. Now the next one here is customer acquisition. You can optimize the campaign towards acquiring new customers. Um, Typically, unless it's a very unique case, we keep it like this. We do not take this option. Then the next one is networks. And it's a tricky one because Google will show you both options here, but these are not supported in AdGrants accounts. In AdGrants account, you cannot use partner network, and you also cannot use display network, right? Google AdGrants campaigns they only appear within search and only on Google, not on partner websites. Excuse me. So you need to unclick these, right? This cannot be clicked if it is an AdGrants campaign. If you run this campaign in a commercial account, obviously you can keep it in. It's up to you. But in AdGrants accounts, it needs to be like this. And the next one is location. Again, it's just text campaign, so let's do the entire US. But you can be more specific. You can just target one city, one county. You can target radius around certain address, etc. Then languages. Again, right now we just use English. If you have a multilingual website, you can create, for instance, two different campaigns. One for English speaking audience, the other one for Spanish speaking audience. And then in targets, you can, for instance, select just English websites in one of them and the Spanish one in the second one. And you can also translate the ads accordingly. It's also an option. But for now, just for simplicity, let's just stick to the United States in English. And the audience segments, you can, but you don't have to do this. Over here, you can define if you want to have retargeting audiences. If you have lists of people who visit your website in the past, you can select them here, and the campaign will use them for targeting purposes. But for now, we'll not use this option. And then keyword matching. If you leave this on, it means that Google will use broad matching, meaning but again, this is just when you create standard search campaign, right? It's just, matching does not really matter if you create a DSA campaign. So I would just leave this on and just hit next. Now this is a section where this is a brand new section, by the way. It's still a beta version here. And Google basically uses AI. You can extract a bunch of things from your website. You can even suggest something like this will make you unique. It can extract keywords automatically, etc. It can help when creating campaign, but again, my recommendation, just like with all these AI products, always check what they write here, make sure it's correct, rewrite it manually if needed because it's not 100% correct. But again, it can speed things up. But for now, I'll just skip this. And now this is the section. Close this. This is a section where Google asks me to create an ad group. And again, over here, unfortunately, you cannot choose whether this should be standard or dynamic ad group. So what we need to do here is just to create a standard ad group, and then we can remove it once the campaign is created. Just before this webinar, I tried skipping this, and it wouldn't let me publish the campaign. So for now, it seems like this is the only workaround. So we can just let's name it temporary because it will be deleted later on. And again, we need to put in some keywords here. Google can give us some suggestions. Marketing and Google Ads, okay. Again, it doesn't matter what you put here because it will be deleted. It just needs to be here for us to let us publish the campaign. The ad copies, same thing here. It extracted some keywords from the website. We use it here as headlines, also description lines, business name. And you need to have business name in here. This ones you don't have to have here. And again, this will not be used in the actual campaign. It's just Google to let us complete the process. Now it's funny. It gave me this recommendation. Now they said it's related to recreational drugs. So things like this sometimes happen. Obviously, it's not related, but sometimes when you say on something to Google, it sounds like it may be related to this. So sometimes you get funny things like this, so we could put in a different keyword. Like Google ad grants. That one would be fine. All right. Next. For this, messages can. All right. So now it works. Now the budget is up to you. Say we willing to use $50 a day. It gives you some estimates based on those keywords, right? It knows how many to search for them. They know how expensive the keywords are. It even gives you projections in terms of how many conversions you can expect. And then we hit next, and now it's just a summary. Right, so we'll show you, okay, here's the name, it's a search campaign. We use maximize conversions bidding with a 5,000 cost per acquisition target. We're on Google Search Network only in the US in English. We don't have any specific audiences here. Just one keyword, one ad. Daily budget is $50. Everything seems to be all right here. So I hit publish. All right, seems to work. And now if I go in here into campaigns, the campaign is right here. I will pause it for now because obviously the setup is not complete. It's just a test. But you can see the campaign has been created with those parameters. And now when I go into that campaign, it's interesting. It says that there is no enabled. Let's see, let me do one more thing here. So here's the campaign again. Okay, now the article appears. It wasn't there initially, but now it appears. So this is the article that we created. We named it temporary because it's a standard ad group, and we don't need this. So I'll just pause this. We can also remove it. And now what you need to do is to create a dynamic ad group. And you can do it by clicking on this create ad group icon here. And it's where you create a new ad group within this new campaign. And here's the key part, ad group type. So it should be set to dynamic. Yes, I want to continue. And you can see here now, it doesn't ask us for keywords anymore, but you can either select certain categories. Again, it extracts some topics from your website, and you can use these categories, right? And then, that will sort of guide Google on what kind of people they should go after. But our recommendation is to use these two options here. So either go after all web pages, meaning it will automatically extract keywords from all pages within your domain, right? So that's one option. Or if there are some specific pages you would like to use for targeting, you can do that in here. And you can either put in specific pages, or you can create a rule, right? So if URL contains donate, if you have more pages like that, you can specify it like this, and Google will only crawl those, and we only use those keywords for targeting, right? So this is how you can narrow down the targeting. But for now, we'll just go with all web pages, right? So this is the target, all web pages within our website. Now hit save and continue. And now this is essentially the last part of the process. You can see here, this is where we create ad copies. Headlines are created automatically, so we cannot even put anything in there, or we can put in description lines, and that's up to you, right? You can have up to 90 characters in here. So you put in one description line, second one, you hit done, save and continue, and that's it, right? I'm not gonna do it now, but I mean, if you did that, then that's it. DSA campaign is created. You can then enable it, and we'll start running. Now, I have this other account here where the campaign has been created a while ago. And so I want to show you how to optimize a campaign in here. All right, so you can see here, similar setup is dynamic campaign. There's an ad group that goes after all pages. It's an account with substantial amount of content. This campaign works very well. As you can see here, in the last 30 days, this campaign generated, almost 4,000 impressions, 138 clicks, and it used almost $2,000 from the grant. You can see that the conversion rate has also been decent. Now, when you have a DSA campaign, um, what are the optimization options? Right. So one of the obvious thing is the search term report. You can find it over here inside the reports, search terms. When you go in here, you can see the different keywords that they appeared on. And if, for instance, let's say this one isn't relevant, you can click on it. You can add it as a negative keyword. There's also an option add as keyword, but if you click that, nothing's gonna happen because the DSA campaign can add keywords. You can only remove keywords, but you can't add new ones. They're being added automatically. That's one thing you can do. Second thing you can do, you can go in here into this landing page report, and you can see the different pages that we used for targeting purposes. And again, if you see that Google uses a page that just isn't relevant, then you can click on it, you can view all the details, and you can then narrow down the target, right? So um, coming back to what I've shown you a few minutes ago, you do not have to go after all pages. You can only say these specific pages, and that way you can avoid using certain pages. A last thing that you can do is that you can play around with this target, right? So now you can see it's set to $200. But if this campaign is getting more expensive, if the cost per conversion grows, you can go in here, you can lower the target, which essentially pushes Google to give you cheaper conversions, right? So they optimize targeting, they optimize bidding, they try to deliver cheaper conversions closer to this target CPA value. Right? So those are three common optimization types. All right, I'll go back in here and I would like to conclude the topic of DSA campaigns by showing you our tips. So, well, first and foremost, uh, try DSA campaigns. For those of you who don't have experience with DSA campaigns yet, it's fairly easy to set up. Like I said, it has a lot of potential grant accounts. So go ahead, test it. Use high budgets initially. Those are the targets that I've shown you a few seconds ago. Start with high targets and then lower them later on as you get more data. Again, start by broad targeting. Include all pages initially, but then narrow it down as needed. Use maximize conversions bidding. I mentioned that as well. When you optimize campaigns, look at those search terms, refine the lists as needed. Also look at the list of landing pages. And again, um, you know, use wise targeting because you can get out of control very quickly. Use popular keywords in ad texts, right? So after a while, after we have some data, you might see that some keywords are very popular. So you can then take those keywords, you can use them in those description lines. You can add more ad copies, play around, use the keywords that can also help you increase relevancy. And use ad extensions, just like in any other search campaign, also in DSA campaign. You can use site link extensions, phone number extensions, location extensions, things like that. So take advantage of them. It will increase the size of the DSA ad. And, if the ad is larger, then the likelihood that people will actually click it is also larger. All right, now let's move on to the second part of this presentation, which is Performance Max campaigns. And let's start off by asking a question again. Have you tested Performance Max campaigns? And they've been around in commercial accounts for a while. Those of you who have experience with commercial campaigns, you might have tested a while ago, but they just became recently available in advanced accounts. Again, for our clients, this has been our priority to set them up as soon as they became available. So we would like to know your experience. If you have experience with PMax campaigns, please give us your votes. All right, we have one yes. Anybody else? All right, we only have about 20 minutes left, so I would like to make sure that we um, finish on time. So yeah, we're one yes. That's good. Like I said, we set up these campaigns with all our clients. In some of the accounts that we manage, it became available last year in November or December. Like Google made it available to everybody in January 2025. when we talk about Google AdSense accounts. Okay. Um, what it is, if you look here at this infographic, these are the different properties in Google's toolbox, so to say. As Google can show ads, you can see on different properties. It can be search, but it can be also display network, it can be YouTube, it can be Google Discover, it can be Gmail. If in Gmail you have this promotion tag with ads, and it can be map, right? So sometimes you see highlighted businesses on Google Maps, and that's also a form of advertising, right? So Google can show your ads on all of these platforms. As you probably know, in AdSense accounts, typically, in the past, it's only been possible to use the search network, right? Text ads that appear within Google Search. Other formats were not available in the grant. This changes with the introduction of PMax campaigns. PMax campaigns currently in AdSense accounts, they can run in search and they can also run in maps. That's at least the information we have from Google. They're planning on adding new properties later on. Display and YouTube, obviously, those are the ones we've been begging for quite some time because these platforms are critical for advertisers if you want to, or for some of our clients, if you want to convey a visual message or a video or something like that. It's difficult to do just with text, right? So for years we've been asking Google to add a format into AdSense accounts that can also um, run videos or images. And this seems to be slowly changing with the introduction of PMax. Again, we're not there yet. So for now, it's just search and maps, but promises that the other platforms will be added later on. And yeah, at least in commercial accounts, all of those formats are available. And so PMax campaigns in commercial accounts, they target very broadly. They go after one person, regardless of where the person is. That person can be searching, the person can be browsing the websites, YouTube, etc. And the one person can still see the one ad that you want him or her to see. And that's the biggest power of this campaign format. Right? Now, what are the scenarios when you can or when it's optimal to use performance max campaigns? Well, if you want to maximize performance and maximize the reach, right? That's really where PMax campaigns excel. When you don't want to be limited to just one channel, again, in AdSense accounts, there's a search and maps, but it's still better than just search, right? And even within search, we see that these campaigns in many cases outperform standard search campaigns. So our recommendation is definitely to try it. You can access other channels. I already mentioned that. The only real downside of this campaign format again is the level of control, right? And it's not just control; it's also reporting. Um, as you might have noticed, in DSA campaigns, reporting possibilities were sort of limited compared to standard search campaigns. And in PMax campaigns, it's even further limited, right? So you don't see too many details about where the ads appeared. You don't see the keywords, you don't see the search terms that triggered the ads. I'll show you in a second what I mean by that. But the level of control and level of reporting is definitely um, lower compared to other campaign formats. But what are the benefits, right? So, and again, this is from Google's official website. So Google explains the biggest benefits of PMax campaigns as the option to unlock new audiences across different channels, not just search, but across all channels. That way you can drive better performance. What they say, you can get transparent insights. I don't agree with this 100%. I'll show you in a second what I mean by that. Automation, that's a big benefit. It's AI-based campaigns, so a lot of targeting is carried out by AI. You just give it signals, and Google uses the signals, and they're again AI-based targeting. They know a lot of information about their users, and based on these signals, they can then show your ads to most relevant people. And again, that creates a certain level of simplicity in terms of how these campaigns are created and optimized. And here's an example. I'm sure if you can see it properly, I'll try to make it a little bit bigger like this. This is just a screenshot from one of the accounts where we implemented PMax back in November 2024. So it's one of the first accounts where PMax became available, and we went right in. We created a campaign. So now we already have actually more than 3 months worth of data, almost 4 months actually at this point. You can see here it is the PMax campaign. It picked up quickly, right? So we created a campaign in mid-November, and within a week or so, it was the biggest campaign in the account. And again, this is an account with substantial amount of content on the website. We use broad audience signals. One of the audience signals that we used was their retargeting audience, right? So if you have those retargeting audiences built up, you give it to Google, and then Google says, okay, there were these 5,000 people who visited the website in the last 2 months. Google knows who they are in terms of demographic, and all sorts of characteristics, and then they use these characteristics to find people similar to those who visited the website in the past. So if you have a lot of traffic to your website, if you have those retargeting audiences, if you have a lot of content on the website, this can be a very efficient format for you. Just like in this example, picked up quickly, even in terms of conversions. You can see that this single campaign and is a period of January to March. Yeah. So in this period, less than 3 months, this campaign generated more than 240 conversions for them, more than 600 clicks, and it is the biggest campaign in their account currently, with the conversion rate of almost 40%. So it can be quite efficient. Now, what are the limitations? Just like with DSA campaigns, there are certain limitations that you need to keep in mind when using PMax campaigns. First of all, the control is limited, and especially over placements and bidding. You need to use uh, maximize conversion bidding. So, you don't have direct control over cost per click, and also placements. It serves across channels, but you cannot say, I just wanted to show on YouTube or give us more of display traffic. That's not really possible. It's done automatically. Obviously, major limitation in advanced accounts is that it's only used in Google search and maps. Um, and it's good for brand awareness or generating engagement, right? Broader audiences, bring anybody uh, that you can to our website. In those type of scenarios, it works very well. If you want to be more specific, if you want to focus on bottom part of the funnel, if you want to push people to convert, closer to conversions, it's more difficult because the level of control is somewhat limited. You can give it a more specific audience signal, but again, it doesn't mean that Google will only go after those people in the audience. It's just a signal, and how Google um, uses that signal, you cannot really control it. You cannot control over how narrow or broad matching to that signal Google should use. Okay. So, and again, these are brand accounts, so people are not too concerned about how much the campaign uses. But if you use this campaign in commercial accounts, it can burn your budget fairly quickly, right? You can show the ad frequently on display or YouTube, and you might not necessarily get the cost per conversion you want. So you need to be conscious. My recommendation is to start with lower bids and budgets initially, and then scale it up. Obviously, in grant accounts, that's a little bit different story. So in grant accounts, we start with high budgets and bids, just to ramp it up, because the reach of that campaign in a grant account is not that great. So we want to make sure the campaign ramps up quickly, and then afterwards, after we have the data, we can always narrow down bids and budgets. And we have one more question here, which is, which factor do you think has the biggest impact of the success of PMax campaign? I guess some of you, if you have some experience with PMax, and even if you don't have experience, just give us your best guess. So there are 4 answers. And take a look at that. It's in the ball section. Okay, and we have any guesses? So the answers are either high quality assets, well-defined conversion goals, strong audience signals, regular performance analysis, or all of the above. Okay, somebody thinks that the assets are the most important part. All right, this one person changed it to conversion goals. All right, and all of the above. Okay. Yeah, all of the above actually, I think that's the correct answer here because and from our experience, um, obviously the audience signals, they're very important, but also conversion data. If you have conversion data in the system, that's also a signal that Google uses to guide those campaigns. And assets are very important as well. In these PX campaigns, you can actually put in a variety of different assets. You can use things like business name, again, headlines, description lines, but you can also upload images, I think up to 20 images in different resolutions. You can also upload videos, logos, things like that. Google uses those different assets and they sort of mix and match them to create different combinations that work across different platforms, and then it basically serves the winning combinations, right? So it tests different variations, and then whenever they see, okay, this one, this image or this headline, etc., works the best, then it pushes it the most, right? So assets are extremely important, but the campaign only works well if targeting is well defined, which is done through those audience signals as well as conversions. And now it's just how to create a campaign. I mean, you can take a look at this when you look at the recording. You can stop it here, and then you can go step after step. Now, we don't have enough time to review it here, so I'll just show you how it works in the demo. Right, so I'll just do that like that. And then the optimization. So once you create a PMax campaign in the account, our recommendation is to review the asset performance. Like I said, you can upload a variety of different assets. And then after you accumulate some data, you can go in there, you can see how different assets perform. Google will show you, this is the best performing headline. This is the least performing headline. This image works well. This one doesn't. Right. So then you can get a sense of what works, and then you can upload images or headlines similar to those that work in the past. You can remove those ones that they don't work well, etc. So that's very important. Um, retargeting lists. So make sure that you create retargeting lists. We typically use Google Analytics as a platform to create these retargeting audiences, and then use this as a signal to Google. Because when Google knows, okay, these are the people who visited the page, or it can be, you don't have to have an audience consisting of all visitors. You can have more specific audiences just consisting of people who went to the donation page or who completed certain conversions. It's up to you how you define these audiences. But when you then use this audience in PMax, Google knows who are these people, and it can go easily after people similar to those people. So that's very important. And then again, this all comes down to website, right? Google takes these assets from the website. Google uses the website for targeting purposes. So have a high quality website optimized for keywords. That's key here, just like it was very important in the DSA campaign. Um, what are the situations where PMax campaigns don't work very well? Well, if you don't have conversion tracking in place, or if your conversion tracking is very, very, very bad, right, then it doesn't really work well. If you don't have enough creatives, if you don't have high quality images, videos, etc., then it might be a little bit limited. And again, if your website is very simple, right, if you don't have keywords, popular keywords in your website, then it may not work very well. In our tips, I'll do that for this slide. So again, just like I did with the DSA campaign, I'd like to go into this account again. I'd like to show you how to create the PMax campaign. So if you go to campaigns, and you click on this plus sign and you click new campaign. Again, my suggestion is to do this one, create campaign without guidance. And when you click on the first one, that's performance max. Again, conversion actions were taken from the account. This one, Merchant Center, that's what the e-commerce advertisers use, right? So if you have this Merchant Center, that's where you keep your product lists, things like that. So if you're not an e-commerce entity, then keep it like this. Where should people go? So again, this should be your homepage. So let's do that. You give it a name. Keep it like this. You hit continue, and then again, you see similar experience here. It looks the same from the outside, but because it's a PMax campaign, some of these steps are a little bit different. And that's what I want to focus on. So again, as a first step, that Google asks you, what should be the bidding model, and so you should keep it here. Conversions. Again, our recommendation is to use a target which is very high initially. This one I would keep it like this. Hit next. Again, language and country, very similar to the DSA campaign. And now here comes the third party. You can see here, Google downloaded a bunch of things from the website. Right? It knows the website. It knows automatically. It knows what kind of keywords, what kind of services we offer. So they're in here. You can delete it. You can change it. You can manually put in products or services that you want to advertise. What makes you unique is actually surprisingly accurate. It's again taken by AI from our website. You can change this. You can add something here. You should thoroughly explain what makes you unique. It also, as you can see, it identified not just our website but also our social media profiles here, and we'll use all of these to extract assets from. So the images, etc. It doesn't just extract it from our website, but it also extracts it from our social media profiles. And I can now hit generate assets. And by the way, you can skip all this. You can manually upload all the assets. This is just because I want to save time, so I want to show you that you can even use AI to generate this. Again, I'll reiterate that every time you use these AI suggestions, make sure you review all of this, make sure that it is actually correct, and fix what needs to be fixed. It takes just a few seconds for Google to review all of these web properties. And as you can see here, add here. And so it created 15 headlines, which is the maximum amount. Our recommendation is to use as many assets as possible. Long headlines generated 4. We can actually add 1 more. So that's good. 5 description lines over here. You can again, no, you can't, but you should check all of them. You should fix them if needed. And now images. And as you can see here, it suggests some images. Some of these images are taken from our website, but some of them are just stock images taken from some photo banks, etc. As you can see here, I just clicked it and it automatically created the image in 2 resolutions. Again, my recommendation is to check the images in all resolutions because it doesn't always look good in all resolutions. Logos, again, those were taken automatically. If you have some high-res logos, upload them manually in here. Business name, videos. We don't have videos on our website, so it is not. You don't have to have videos, but if you have them on YouTube, put them in here. And these are ad extensions. Okay, so site link extensions, call to action extensions, etc. You don't have to use them, but again, my recommendation is to use as many extensions. As you can see here, Google already shows us some of the ads here, and you can easily scroll up, and you can see what the ads look like on different platforms. And so this is what it looks like in Google Search, what it looks like Google Display. This is some banners essentially, so large image and small text here. You can see what they look like in Gmail, right? So okay, even YouTube, we did not supply any videos, so it doesn't show us the video here. But if I supply video, then you can see out here, right? So you can check what they look like in here, and you can see the ad strength. Obviously, more assets and the more different assets, right? So when you upload the images, do not have 5 variations of the same image. Use different images. Give Google space to experiment, try different combinations. Use fundamentally different assets, and then after a while, here you will see which ones work, which ones don't, right? Then and I know it's already been 60 minutes, which was the projected time we needed for this webinar, but I just want to make sure we complete this. So it will take about 5 more minutes. So please, if you can, stay with me here. If not, then you can always watch the recording. The next step is the budget, right? So again, for now, I'll put in $50. It's up to you. Again, in an advanced account, Our recommendation is to start with large budget, and you can always reduce it later on. Then you hit next, and the last step is just the summary, right? So you see the campaign name, you see the website, you see the bidding strategy here, language, geo-targeting, you see how many assets we provided, and then the signals. We actually did not skip this step here, which is an important one. So I'll do that now. The audience signal, that's the form of targeting, right? But again, it's just a signal. It doesn't mean that Google will only serve ads to people in these audiences, but via these signals, you say to Google that we would like to show the ads to people similar to people in these audiences, essentially. And our recommendation when you create this campaign is to use your data. And this basically means these are your retargeting audiences, right? So in our case, these are either all users that visited our website, is an audience created in Google Analytics 4, or you can select more specific audiences, like for instance, people who converted on our website in the past, etc. Right? So for instance, if I click this audience, then this will be used as a primary signal. So Google will try to go after people similar to those who visit our website. You can also add additional signals. So you can narrow down targeting by specifying certain interest categories or demographic categories in market segments. And so, for instance, I can only, I can suggest Google that people interested in our services will probably be interested in Google advertising, right? And Google knows who are the people who search for services like that, and you can again use it as a guidance for targeting, right? So it is actually quite important. So assets and audience signals, these are very important. And like I said, our recommendation is to start with retargeting audience, and you can then narrow it down further via these different categories. Try to be specific. And if the campaign isn't ramping up, you can always reduce it, change it. You can even create different so-called asset groups. Asset groups are essentially ad groups in PMax campaigns. And you can have multiple asset groups with different audience signals or with different assets, right? It doesn't have to be just one, but now that we created, you just create one, and you can add more later on. The budget we already set. The summary, I think we have everything we need. So I just hit publish, and now the campaign gets created. It takes a few seconds, and then it will we'll see it in here in the campaign list. Formats Max 2 as the campaign we created. If you open it, you see the different assets. You see the different audience signals. You see the demographic, information, etc. And again, this is a new campaign, so we don't see any stats here, and I cannot show you how to optimize it in here. So to do that, I'll go into this other account. We've had this campaign running in this account again for a few months, and this is a grant account, by the way. This is the PMax campaign. And if you go in this asset groups, you can see here these are the actual assets that we use in this campaign. You can see we use 15 images, 2 logos, we use a video, etc., etc., etc. You can see the ad strength is good here. If we want to see, and these are the audience signals, right? So again, we use the retargeting list. We also use more specific demographic and interest information. We also use some search teams. These are essentially, keywords that people search for, right? You can also keep guiding us through these search teams, which are groups of keywords. And if you open this up, then show you the assets. And it looks like we don't have enough data here yet. But after a while, you start seeing little charts here, and it will show you this one is the best performing one, this one is not so good performing one, etc. So that's one type of optimization you can do there. And second type of optimization you can do is in here you can go to this section here, when and where ads showed, so you can see which devices they appeared on, if it's computer, cell phone, etc. And again, you can also see hours, details, stats like that. This one, the placement one, that's blank. And the reason why it is blank is because it's a grant campaign, And in grant accounts, these ads cannot serve on display network, right? But if you have a PMax campaign in a commercial account, you see the actual website, you see the different actual placements where the ads appeared. And obviously you can see the different locations, cities, you can drill down by cities, states, etc. Um, yeah, and when you and you can think about it, you can see the different assets here as well. You can see the different extensions. You can add new extensions, etc. Coming back to what I said in the presentation, the reporting and control capabilities here are sort of limited. Mm, What you can really optimize are the assets. You can add different asset groups. You can then play around with the signals, right? But again, that's just the guidance, so it's not a complete control. But that way you could fine tune the campaign, um, and but you don't see the keywords. You don't see the keywords. You cannot add negative keywords, right? You don't see the placements here. So the control options are somewhat limited, but despite all these limitations, it is a great campaign format. As you can see here in this account, it's for last 30 days. This campaign used more than 6.5, or actually almost 6.5 thousand from the grant. The CTR, and the CTR, by the way, that's one thing that we noticed in our grants accounts. CTR is not always great in PMax campaigns. Again, there's just not enough reporting for us to see exactly why that is, but we discussed it with our agencies working with our grantees, and they see the same thing. We think it's related to placements, right? So the ad positions might be a little bit lower, or the ads might appear within Google Maps. So the impressions are being generated because there are many impressions, but not that many clicks, right? So I think those are the possible explanations. And as you probably know, CTR, the average CTR for the entire account, the grant account, should be at least 5% per month. So if you see very low CTRs, you might need to go back. You might need to change up your assets, try different audience signals, maybe try higher bids, because higher bids make the ads more competitive. They can appear on better positions, things like that. So CTR is definitely something to keep an eye on here in the PMax format. And I would just like to really conclude this by giving you our tips regarding PMax campaigns. So again, just like with DSA, tested is a new format. We've in I'd say about 80% of accounts where we tested PMax, it became one of the biggest campaigns. So there's a lot of potential in advanced accounts. Even advanced accounts that were very difficult to scale up, PMax helped them. So test it. Start with high bids and high target CPA budgets. Again, you can always narrow it down. In advanced accounts, the problem is to rank it up, right? So start high and then lower it to the level where it works for you. Use all ad sets. Again, if you have videos, if you have images, use all of them. Try different variations. Like I said, try very different images. So it has a lot of variations, a lot of possibilities to test. When you create it, use your retargeting audience as audience signals. And you can again narrow it down by using interests in market audience, etc. But in the retargeting audience should be the baseline. Monitor assets and refine them. After a while, you'll see which ones perform good. So work off of those and create different combinations. Experiment. I've already mentioned that you can create different asset groups, right? So that's also a good way for you to experiment. And you can use brand exclusions. I haven't shown you this, but when you go into settings of campaign level, you can use brand exclusions. So if you don't want your ads to appear, for instance, on websites related to certain brands, you can add those brand exclusions, and then your ads won't appear there. Again, this is mostly for the display network, which is not supported in advanced accounts. If you run this in commercial account, it's something you might want to do as well. And monitor CTR. I mentioned this. CTR tends to be quite low in these campaigns. If you have other search campaigns next to it that have, above average CTR, this might not be a problem because Google measures CTR on the account level. But if this is the only campaign you have in the account and the CTR is less than 5%, it might become a compliance problem. So keep an eye on that. And the count demo, that's what we've already done. And over here, again, I'm not gonna go into all the details. When you look at the recording, you can pause it here and you can do the comparison yourself. But over here, I really just wanted to summarize what the DSA is about, what PMax is about, what are the advantages, disadvantages, and when to use which one. I'm not gonna go into all the details. You can use both campaigns. With most of our clients, we use both campaigns right now. We test them. Sometimes dynamic is better, sometimes PMax is better. But I think eventually when Google expands the reach of the PMax campaign, PMax will be the clear winner. I think that's where it's headed to. Also in many commercial accounts, PMax just outperforms any other campaign type. So I think eventually PMax will be the winner. But again, dynamic search ads in some scenarios might be the better one. It typically has higher CTR. Sometimes it's better conversion rate because it is a search campaign. Search campaigns typically convert better than, for instance, display campaigns. There's a bit more control or transparency because you see the keywords, right? So the winner is not it's not clear as of now. My recommendation is to test both, see what works for you, or what works for your scenario, and then stick to one that works the best. Funnel the budget into that one, and that will be the winning strategy for you. And over here, I really just wanted to talk about us. I'm not gonna do that. Again, most of you work with us. You know who we are and why you work with us. There's one thing that I would maybe like to mention here is that we've been also selected a Google Premier Partner for 2025, and only top 3% of agencies have this status. So we're quite happy about that. It just happened very recently, and I've also been selected a Google Trainer for 2025, and it's the 6th year in a row. So we're happy about these two things. And our questions. I see we have one question here. So I'll cast your PMax demo screen. Okay, it's too bad I see it now. Mm, okay. Yeah, I see there's been a technical error. Unfortunately, we don't have time to fix it. We'll try to fix it, so hopefully it will be available in the recording. Sorry about that. I just see it. If it won't be available, we'll record that part again and we'll put it in. We'll make sure that that you'll see that. Uh, Again, I'm sorry. It seems to be a technical issue on our end. We'll try to fix it and get you the correct recording. And yeah, that's all we had. Hopefully, this gave you insights and overview of those AI-based campaigns. Again, the recording will be available. Take a look at it at your own speed. Let us know if you have any questions. My email address is over here. You are welcome to reach out. For those of you who work with us, we'll be testing both of those campaign types. So you will see them. You'll see them in your reports. And we'll see how it goes. Thank you again for your time. Thank you again for your attention. It's been a pleasure to have you today, and wish you a nice rest of the day. Thank you again.